All right, well, now usually on the show, we cover stories that have appeared earlier in the week in the Quality Digest newsletter. Most of you know that. And most of our interviews jump off from recent QD articles, most of the interviews that we do here on the show. Well, this time we're going to flip the script a little bit and start off with an interview that will act as a teaser for a feature article coming up later from QD's own Ryan Day that will appear in an issue of Quality Digest coming up in the next week or two. So our guest on today's show is Gordon Stiles, who is the founder and president of Star Rapid. And Star Rapid is a company specializing in rapid prototyping, rapid tooling, and low-volume manufacturing of custom parts. Star Rapid is based in Zhongshan, China, but Stiles is a British engineer who now spends the majority of his time at the company's Chinese facility. How Stiles came to transition from Great Britain to China is an interesting part of the story, but it is only part of the story. There's also a lot here to delve into regarding technological innovation and customer service, in addition to the cultural ramifications of doing business in the East versus the West. So, without further ado, Gordon Stiles, welcome to Quality Digest Live.
Well, I'm really pleased to be here, and I'm racking my brains thinking what I can do in my factory with pointing at things to
exactly
help guys remember their process. So, yeah, great article there. I love it.
Great idea. You know, I mean, you think about that, it's pretty simple, but it makes a lot of sense. Well, now Gordon has mentioned you had an interesting journey from West to East. So what made you not only have your company in China, but decide to live there as well?
Well, I grew up in the northeast of England in a place called Middlesbrough. And if you want to know what Middlesbrough's a bit like, it's a bit like Flint, Michigan without the culture, you know. So it was kind of a declining industrial place. And as an engineer, it was very tough. But I managed to build a business there up for 17 years, up to the year 2000 when I sold that business. And at the time of selling it, we were the largest 3D printing company in the UK at that time, long before most people in the world had ever heard of 3D printing. I sold it, but I then decided I wanted to get back into engineering in the UK. So I got back into engineering again. I invested all of the money I'd made from my first business, but we got hit very, very badly with incoming low-cost Chinese competition. And in the end, I decided to close the business. So at the age of 40, with just about 10,000 bucks left to my name, I decided to kind of, if you can't beat them, join them kind of strategy. I bought a one-way ticket on Air France to Hong Kong, and I just went out there with the intention of starting a business. And that's exactly what I did. So June 2005, started up a Hong Kong-based trading company, went into China, set up in a small bedroom there as a one-man trader, you know, getting 3D CAD models and getting them CNC machined in Dongguan and then shipping them back to my home country. And one by one, I employed another person after a year and another person. And right now, we have 250 people. We're self-financing all the way through. And we have about 65,000 square feet that we operate out of. So it's been quite a journey. And at first, I wasn't sure it would succeed, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to live or live there for sure. But over time, I fell in love with China. I've got married to a Chinese girl, and frankly, I live a very happy life there.
Well, you know, that's an amazing story, and it's really a great success story. I mean, you, of course, now have a very unique viewpoint into this. You know, this is obviously a big issue these days, is you know, manufacturing in China, how people in the West can work with people in the East to get done the work they need to get done. So what would you say, from your unique vantage point, are some of the perceptions and misperceptions maybe about each group and what they think about how the other one works?
Yeah, well, obviously the number one, from an industrial point of view, the number one perception of China is that you only get cheap, poor quality goods from China. But that's clearly not the case, because otherwise people wouldn't be buying iPhones and you know, various other made in China goods that are frankly some of the best quality products made on earth. But it is clear that the number of really high quality companies in China compared to less good quality, it's small, it is small, but it is growing. And, give them another 15 to 25 years, and we'll be talking about China in the way that we talk about Japanese manufacturing today. I'm pretty confident of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about technological change within your sector, the prototyping sector. How have things changed since you began in the industry?
Yeah, so I began with my first 3D printing machine in 1993. I bought a 3D Systems SLA 250 stereolithography machine. And I think on the plastic side of 3D printing, materials have changed greatly. There is now a huge range of mechanical properties available in materials, different colors, many different techniques. So that the mechanical properties and the types of materials that are available, that's been a huge improvement. But the one thing that has changed dramatically, certainly since 1993, is the availability of metal components of pretty high quality and very good metallurgy. So even 10 years ago, you couldn't really get good metal parts. And I think it was, I went to a show in Sao Paulo actually and saw some output from a company down there. I think they were using EOS at the time. And it was the first time I saw metallurgy of such high density and also parts that were fairly flat, not buckled, So I was very excited, and that's why eventually we decided to invest in a Renishaw AM250, which is not a sintering machine, it's actually a melting machine, which most are nowadays. And so, yeah, that's the big change. I would say certainly the last 5 to 10 years is the blooming of the metals business.
Well, and from where we've come just in the last couple of years, what do you see in the next several years in terms of where this goes from here now?
Yeah, so on metals is a production technology, whereas plastics historically was very much a prototyping technology. So in the metals industry, I think we're going to have to educate the designers out there who are going to find the right niches for metal 3D printing in low volume manufacturing. Right now we see an awful lot of inquiries which are parts where the geometry is just not suitable for metal 3D printing. They're using it as a bit of a fallback position when nothing else can make their component. It's trying to sweep up behind a bad design, so to speak. So I think the education of designers on what you can and can't metal 3D print. Also, 3D printing needs a lot of skill. Metal 3D printing needs a lot of skill. You have to play with the parameters, and you often don't get the part right first time. So you might have to build a part once or twice or even 3 times to get the geometry right, get the orientation right, get the support structure right. Once you've done that, these machines are very reliable, and you rarely get a build that fails if you've done your development of a part. And so that's why if you look at all the metal 3D printing machines in the world, you will see that they're employed in low volume manufacturing. And probably the best example of that would be General Electric. They've got hundreds of machines, and they're building turbine blades for jet turbines and for commercial steam turbines. Also NASA, building very complex, convoluted nozzles that just can't be built by any other method. So that's one thing that we're seeing. Another thing that we're seeing is the development of what I call hybrid machines. That is the merging of metal laser melting with some other technology like CNC milling or turning or grinding or EDM. And so DMG Mori have come out with a new machine where it's a milling and turning machine, and it also has a laser, and it creates a conical stream of powder. You can build up the part, and then you can come around and machine it, turn it over, machine the side, and then you can start building again on that machined element. So the whole hybrid development is very exciting for the future. And just as you see milling machines that are turning machines, that are grinding machines, so you'll add 3D printing to that kind of hybrid technology. Very
And
exciting.
And what about service? Is service within your sector, low volume manufacturing, is that kind of a different process than maybe service might be in a high volume?
Well, the lower the volume you are, in rapid prototyping, low volume production, you are effectively a small order business. And there is a disproportionate amount of communication with the clients and project management and so forth. So in a business like ours, we are top heavy on indirects. And that has a direct result of the amount of communication that is required. And I don't think this is going to change going off too far into the future. But there is a great challenge for service. There's a great challenge for the species, frankly, that's looming, let's say, anywhere between 10 years and maybe 35 years down the road. And that is the technological singularity. Imagine a world where you have artificial superintelligence embodied in some kind of robotic device or machine, and it can direct itself. It has its own agency, so to speak. It can decide what happens next. It can decide what products need to be developed or so forth. And it has the capability of doing everything that humans do. And this, of course, is the kind of scary sci-fi stuff. What happens at the technological singularity, I really don't know. I've read a number of books on it. I can't predict it. But I do believe that post or during singularity, there will be a sufficient number of humans who will reject getting their hair cut by a robot, or when they go for a massage, it has to be a real human being, or when they want to buy their, let's say, rapid prototyping or their low volume production, CNC machining, they want to talk to a human. Right. It may be a niche market, but I don't see any future for any company long term that goes down the route of removing humans deliberately from the process where they could remain and add value. If the only thing that you need is money to be able to build a factory and you don't need humans, it becomes a venture capital play, and then anyone with money can get into it, and there is no differentiation and no value added. And that's not a future I personally want to be involved with. So that's why we're going down the route of, yes, we love technology at the core of our business, but we're going to surround it with humans and humanity.
Interesting.
Well, Gordon Stiles of Star Rapid, founder and president of Star Rapid, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you have to catch a plane, so thanks for making the time. And again, look forward to more with Gordon. We'll have an article interview with Gordon coming up here in Quality Digest in the coming weeks. So, Gordon Stiles, safe travels to you. Thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you. See you again. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.